Awesome. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Radiant Media Podcast. Today we're talking with Jackson and Christian. They're the makers of a new film coming out called Wormhole. And yeah, how about you guys do a little intro of yourselves?
Yeah. My name's Jackson Bales. Been doing video production and photography for about 10 years now. Started off, wanting to do films, and when I got into it, I was doing short films and just kind of learned as I went along. Just grabbed a camera and figured it out as I made movies. And I do a lot of like commercial and event videography and photography right now. But I mean, my true passion is like creating cinema, telling stories, um, just finding ways to both entertain and kind of, leave somebody with a lasting feeling through the art of cinema. It's what I grew up on. I grew up just watching movies all the time. I was a movie junkie. Um, and yeah, so me and Christian, we linked up. Well, we linked up a while ago and did some projects for him. And I sent him this script, and I couldn't think of another guy to do this role, someone to take on the huge amount of responsibility with this role. Like really, truly, he brought the whole energy to it. It couldn't have been made without him. And yeah, so that's me, and that's my praise for Christian.
Awesome.
Hey, thanks, man. I mean, it wasn't all just me though. I mean, it's Jackson. It was a team effort. Jackson made it happen. But yeah, my name's Christian Morant. I'm a performing artist for about, I'd say, over professionally, 8 to 10 years. And just like Jackson, big movie buff. I think all of us in this culture, big movie buffs. And I originally actually, instead of just acting, I started behind the camera, like Jackson too. Picked it up and was like, how do I work this thing? Just started doing live events, things like that. But then I moved into one to branch out a little bit more and be in front of the camera, do live performances of my own and stuff like that. So then I reached out to Jackson. Thank God for the internet. We linked up. We worked on a project. The only project we've worked on many. We worked on the only project that's the very first one we've never released yet, which is funny. I would like to say that because we've done so many other we've done so many other projects together. And then he asked me to do this, and I was just elated. Like Jackson's vision is immaculate. It's amazing, and, and he's a pleasure to work with. And that's what's fun, And me and him have had personal conversations about that. How it's we mesh, and it's when you can have that kind of working relationship. I'm willing to do anything on camera with the right people, like just whatever. So, and Jackson makes that happen. So it was a really fun event. So yeah, I do acting, poetry, music, all that stuff, which Jackson's on pretty much most of those projects as well.
That's really great. That's awesome to hear about you guys in that way. So one of the first questions I have about it is, one of the main rules of filmmaking people say is show don't tell, and I thought that this film did a great job of that, and just very minimal dialogue, and it was mostly. Just showing all these different things of these two different people, even though it's the same person. But yeah, tell me about that. And was that like a conscious decision from the beginning to make it very much, a movie that was done primarily through action instead of the dialogue?
Yeah. I think I I wanted to tell a story that was primarily a guy, choosing his actions. It's all about like the actions you choose and the results of them in the end. And so I wanted to show uh through the film the different actions that the characters choose. And I just thought, well, I don't I think this is sort of like an internal conflict, so there really wouldn't be a lot of dialogue. It would be something that's like going on inside someone's head. And so how would that play out on the outside in real life. It would just be that person dealing with themselves. And so I didn't want to, yeah, I didn't want a lot of exposition or anything like that. I didn't want to explain anything too far. I wanted the audience to really watch it and like leave thinking about it. Like maybe not have all the answers. Like once they finish watching it, I wanted them to like, leave thinking like what did all that mean? Like why did this happen or why did that happen? And I just love films like those where I leave the theater like why did this guy do that or whatever. And I'm trying to think of an example. I can't right now. Probably something with Nolan, probably Memento.
Hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Well, actually, no, I won't reveal that. But there was one of the shots where I was like, "Oh, that looks like something from Inception."
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so I wanted to um yeah, and you know what? Even with like I think I had that idea to begin with, but like I think I really like I'm glad you actually saw that and you're like mentioning that after watching it because I think
Hmm.
after I watched it originally, I was like, oh, I see kind of what I'm doing here. Like, I think this
Hmm.
is definitely what it's playing to. And we even had rewrites and we added scenes to it that we thought that were needed. And we did more, with the cinematography about showing, different items or different scenes, stuff that we can put in the beginning that plays out in the end. That there's no one talking explaining it, it's just the cinematography showing what happens in the story. And yeah, I'm glad you noticed that definitely was a driving factor. And
Totally. Yeah, and then Christian, I want to hear from your perspective too about what it was like to do a movie that was so primarily motivated by action, and what were some of the things that helped you like really feel like you were in character as you were doing those things.
Yeah. Well, first off, Jackson's directing helps. So, but the duality, honestly, I got so pumped when he said, like, yo, you want to do both characters? I was like, absolutely. That sounds like so much fun because it really challenges different, different, what's it called, perspectives and avenues and emotions. But I'll say, so I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve naturally. So the emotional pieces of it is what me resonates with me easiest. Like just something about it, getting the darker stuff out or something like that. So those are really intense for both of us to shoot, and I guess enjoyable is the right word. Even though they're heavy stuff like that, it's still something about it. It's like this is so pure, whether we scripted it or not. There's something like that happened in those moments, and then just other things that were just fun to like whimsically do, like different shots, like action shots. It was just a fun process. All meanwhile, in life, my life was very chaotic at the time. Um, and I think, and one thing I wanted to mention is what I found very ironic. I actually have a relative that one of the characters. Um, I I'm not sure, Jackson, how much you want to reveal one of the
go ahead,
characters or
no,
not.
go ahead, go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, so you have it in the synopsis. So
yeah.
one of the characters is a drunk, and personally, around the same time in my own life, I had a family member that was dealing with alcoholism. So it was really um, timely, I guess, to like tap into that side of things. And I was just like, wow. So like we were filming this and doing this while also kind of living it through somebody else. Um, so I guess I don't know if that just helped or what, getting character. But yeah, it was an interesting ride.
Yeah,
That's really awesome.
he did a lot of action in this, and I think it's safe to say there's this one scene where it's rolling down a hill, and I have to say thank you to Christian because we had him roll down this hill like 20 times to get
Yeah.
all of the angles, to get all of the
So
right rolling, to get the right speed of the rolling, to get the
yeah.
right velocity and landing the right way, and like doing it at different levels of the hill. I mean, it was, yeah,
So
that was
so I didn't know if you were I didn't know if we were gonna mention that, but yeah, that there's no stunt guys. That's all me. and that was heinous. It was fun, but it was just like it was. I was. It was really on me. I was like, Jackson, let's do it. Like, if we don't get the shot, we don't get the shot. So I said, Jackson, do we have the shot? I'll keep doing it. And it's just after he yells cut, I hear all the laughter going. I'm like, are you sure you want to keep going? I'm like, we'll keep going. Yes.
I did ask him many times. I'm like, dude, we can stop, if you want. And he was just like, no, no, we keep going. We get every single angle we need for this. Uh,
Totally. Yeah, and that I guess that kind of like is a good segue because there's a shot when that's happening where we see two versions of you at the same time, and I think that the VFX was really well done. And Jackson, would you want to talk a little bit about that process, about how, like, sometimes you can do like a split shot but the lighting isn't exactly right, but like it really looked very realistic, so I want to talk about how you accomplished that.
yeah, we're pretty happy with the VFX in this. This is probably my most VFX. I mean, obviously it's not a super VFX heavy film, but for me at least it was more thorough with the VFX. Yeah, I mean with split screen and masking and having body doubles and everything. That that was some. I mean, uh, I did all of that. We had a VFX guy do like some of the special effects. I did all of the masking and everything. I'm trying to remember. So I think we set up the camera and we just we told ourselves we're not going to move it. We're not moving the camera. We leave it right there. And I think we spent about like 30 minutes like trying to make sure it was perfect, um, through outfit changes and running up and down the hill and him rolling down the hill. And I think we messed up once and we had to actually go back and redo a shot, and we had to like find the exact placement of the tripod and the camera angle and everything, and it worked out. And I mean, it was hard, and we weren't, and part of it was like we're not sure if this is gonna work because we had to come back and fix it. But it did. I'd say you just got to be diligent about it and very like judgmental about it and being like, are we sure this is right? And yeah, and once I've done a lot of these effects, I like whenever I've made music videos in the past, I like to do that effect where it's like a double or whatever. And so I was pretty versed in how to do that in Premiere Pro, and DaVinci. And there's some stuff you do in there with the lighting adjustments, but like a lot of it is like in camera, just making sure on the day of what you're shooting will actually work, and having a game plan. Luckily, I mean, even with Christian's project, we've done that multiple times, so we kind of were ready for how to. Actually, this was actually a fairly simpler one to the ones we've done before. We did a music video for him once where I think we had like 10 different versions of him in a park. It was like a park in Manhattan. Um, that one was difficult. That one was was hard. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. There's a lot to go into it. Research and just make sure how all that stuff works. It's a
Awesome.
fun trick. It's one of my favorite tricks. Or
Totally.
yeah, one of my favorites.
100%. So Christian, as I understand it, you're did you say you're a recording artist? Okay, awesome, cool. So I'm wondering because some of the things that I'm writing right now have to do with music, and I think there's so many similarities between filmmaking and music, and storytelling that crosses between them. So I'm wondering from you, as somebody who's both an actor and a recording artist, like what are some of those points of crossover that you find with each of those forms of art, and how does one help the other, maybe?
Oh man, I think they're absolutely intertwined. I mean, yeah, they can live separately too. But in the modern movie, music makes like everything, whether the lack of music or the type of music that exists. And you can see anything meme online, anything that like I think I saw something where 8 Mile they replaced it with like the one of the lawyer songs or something online where like music is everything. So it changes how the mood and then visually, like my color I hate color grading, but that's why we have editors. But like color grading of the visual is different too. That literally changes what you're viewing, whether it's orange versus blue or something like that. Um, the path definitely costs. And then like when they're individual like silent films, there's ones the silence films like those can be just as powerful, and maybe adding music makes it actually worse. It just depends. It's really this dance, every little piece, and then in the recording world, um, you know, we do a lot of Jackson again. We're doing a lot of our videos and stuff, our projects together. And a lot of times in that world, I actually need to step away from I really like the visual element, which is why we do it. But sometimes I need to focus more on the music element, realize, hey, this can stand alone. How does this stand alone? And that's a whole other beast because you have layers and layers and layers of things. Like from bass, drums, guitar, a billion different instruments and stuff. So it's really I think a dance between.
Totally. I think I remember a quote from Jordan Peele. He said, "The difference between horror and comedy is the music." And I think it's so true because it's like you can have a completely different feeling whether it's like a horror based track or a comedy based track or no track. It's like a film can be completely different in each of those. So
That's
Yeah.
true. And I think we even had a discussion while we were in post for this where we were like, since it's sort of like there's not a lot of dialogue, it's mostly action. I didn't want to like lean too heavy on the music. And we were discussing, we were like, it's gotta be like good enough that since it's sort of silent film, it's gotta be good enough that like if we were to watch it with no music, we'd still find it enjoyable, or watch a
Mm.
scene with no music. And that's what kind of like the philosophy would put behind it. Because I will say music, like, I mean, I think, who was it? Speaking of another quote, I think it was Martin Scorsese. I could be wrong. He was like 40% of cinema or making a movie or the entertainment of a movie is music. Like the music you choose for it. Of course, he chooses a lot of like, stuff from the 70s, and he pulls stuff that just music he likes. And you can't really do that with Jesse, as you probably know, like you can't getting like the music you like from a recording artist is really hard. So you
Totally.
kind of have to get creative with what you use. Um, so yeah, I think yeah, music plays a huge role. It's crazy.
Also,
Hun-
I would say one more thing is the reason why I like working with Jackson on my music stuff is because I feel like he approaches it in a cinematic way. And the why I say that because different live sessions, which is what we're working on, music videos necessarily might approach it from like a static way or a performance way when I cinema is another love of mine, so I get to kind of blend those two. And Jackson's a great uh, what's captain for that. So I personally like that's why I like having him on these projects as well.
yeah, I think it's like there's such a good marriage between cinema and music and just like performance as well, because I went to a concert yesterday and I had heard the songs that this person had done before, but it took on a whole new life when I got to see their like interpretation through their dancing. And it's the same thing through music videos too. So there's such a cool like union, I think, that like both of these types of art have. So but yeah, how about you talk about some more of the sources of inspiration behind this, Jackson? Like, how did the idea come to be?
Ooh. I don't know if I can point to like how did it come to be. I think I was like just laying in bed one night, and that's when all my ideas for movies come to me. I was laying in bed at night, couldn't sleep, and I was just thinking about an idea for a movie. about this guy who is a runner, and he discovers this wormhole to another dimension, and what's on the other side is, something he doesn't know. The other. And I think I wanted to do something in my neighborhood. The original park we were gonna film at ended up not having, I imagined it there, but then we like went there and looked at the hill they have. We needed a nice big hill. And we looked at the hill and it just wasn't really working. So then we went to this other park and they had a bigger hill. And then we even with Christian actually helped with this, with like, how are we going to make the hill seem even like more steep? And we were discussing how to do it. And we like tilted the camera on the side so that like the hill looked even steeper than it is. Um, and yeah, I wanted to do something in my neighborhood, something at a park. It was like the end of 2023. I wanted to make something, but like not go too crazy with it. I kind of have this like, I do a lot of commercial stuff, and that's, there's some art to that, but I like to do one big project, one big artistic project a year, like just for myself, because like that's what makes it all worth it. And so I just was thinking of like what it could be. I guess the story though, I've had my own problems with addiction, and I think addiction plays into the story a lot, especially with drinking. And I kind of, you know, have bounced between like being a very healthy and productive person, and then falling back into just bad habits and just things that aren't healthy and aren't good for you. And I kind of wanted to tell that story of like how different choices can just lead to different pathways for your life. And I'm trying to think if I was inspired by any like actual movies or not. I don't know if I don't know if I was. I think this was, which, and normally I do. Normally I have very like specific inspirations. I think this one was like straight out of my head.
I love it. Divine inspiration. um, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess like anything specific about the film that either of you want to specifically talk about.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say two my like one funny shot and one of my favorite shots. There's a shot where I come back to look at the hill and like he Jackson pans to me running, right? And the reason why I like it is because it's about timing. And Jackson's just flawless. I run past the camera, right? And in frame, it I'm like I'm like jogging, right? And then as soon as I get out, I'm past camera. I have to book it back because at the same time it's one sweep. I book it back, and then right when I get in frame, I look calm. I get myself calm and collected, and then like just casually come back in frame. And that's just something me and Jackson like worked with. I was like, all right, dude, what do I have to
So many
do?
takes. So many
Yes.
takes.
Yes.
What when I saw that shot and all the dynamic movement, I'm like, something cool's about to happen here. I don't know what exactly it is, but something cool's about to happen. So that's great to hear that it required a lot of great effort from you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we wanted to do a lot more. We filmed a version and of the film, and I looked at it and I was like, I feel like I'm just doing too many quick cuts. Like, and maybe that was an inspiration. I think I watched a couple movies and I was like, I'm not a fan of all these quick cuts in my movie. I want to do like some longer takes, some like real
Mm.
solid camera movements. I think it was Spielberg. It was Spielberg.
Yes.
I
Yes.
watched I think it might have been Munich or probably Jaws, maybe. I don't know. It was definitely was Spielberg because he does a lot of this, and obviously he does it. Oh my god, he kills it every time.
Hmm.
And I was like, I want some of that. I need some of that in this film, and I think that's what this film needs because this film isn't like quick cut, high energy, super fast pace, And there's certain films where you need that, but I was like, this film doesn't. This doesn't. So we went back and we put more of that in there, and we reshot things and rewrote things to add more of that cinematography and add more of that vibe to it. And
Hmm.
Christian was just on board to do it. He understood it. He understood what I was trying to do. And he was like, all right, yeah. He did like some of the quick cuts. You did. You like some of them for the
Yeah.
getting ready. And I was like, all right, well, let's just try this and maybe we can like find a middle ground for that.
Yeah.
And I think we did. I think we found a good middle ground. Um, like even the scene of like putting when he puts his headphones on, like it's a close-up scene where he puts his headphones on and it
Yes.
ends up with just the eye and the
Hmm.
headphone. And man, those take a while to get. Like you have to really like be on point.
Right.
And yeah. You asked if there's any other stuff I'd like to say about, I mean, there's a million things I'd like to say about
Yeah.
the
I'm sure.
I'd like to say thank you also to, he's not on here, but Ajoy Sakar. He was another DP on this, and he definitely brought out his A effort and added another cinematic twist to it. He's great at framing and coming up with interesting ways to frame shots, and you know he's a big fan of static shots and just you know painting a beautiful picture in the frame. So a big shout out to him. Also shout out to both Christian and Joy for being just kind of like also you know acting but crewmates for the park we did for the nighttime scene. You know, we rented a bunch of equipment from CSI Rentals, and we had the park at the very bottom of the hill. Like it looks steep, but we only shot on actually half of it. There's this whole other part of the hill that goes really far down, and there was the only way we could get there is if we park at the very bottom, and then we
Oh.
just lugged all this up to the hill.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
probably
I
like
forgot.
5 trips. Yeah, it was.
I
I
forgot
mean,
about that.
that was and Christian and a Joy just were like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
it was a lot of fun. Got our workout in for sure.
got
Yeah.
our workout in.
Well, how about you talk some more about the equipment that you guys used and where it came in handy for specific shots?
Yeah, we shot with two different cameras, primarily Black Magic. The
Let me
6K.
say,
Yeah.
I love Black Magic. Every time I see Jackson, I'm like, hey man, you got the Black Magic? So that's all I just
It's a
want to
great
say.
camera. It's a budget friendly camera. I mean, as far as cinema cameras go, it's budget friendly, and just has a beautiful like image. You know, like it's. I mean, you know, it. I recommend it to any like aspiring filmmaker. Black Magic, love it. So two Black Magic cameras. Then we also for any like moving shots, we had our gimbal and Sony FX3. There's only a couple of those in there, but I was able to like match the color grade pretty well with an FX3 and Black Magic just because I'm used to using those for different things. Um, see other equipment. I mean tripods, of course. I mean it was somewhat minimal. The lights for the nighttime shoot that of course played a big role. You can't really rely on natural light too much.
Nope.
We went to a park, so there were like street like you know park lights and whatever, but like that's not going to create enough. So we had a big aperture, I think 600D, with two V mount batteries, and we had to be strategic with how we used it because we wanted to rent a gas generator to power it, but they didn't have any in store. And these were only dates we could really shoot. So we had to go with the V mount batteries. V mount batteries, love them, but they're not they they die. They you know an aperture 600D is going to draw power really fast from it.
Yeah.
I
And
think one of the shots actually we just had gotten right before one
yeah,
of them died, didn't we?
right when it died, right when it died.
Oh.
Yeah, and then we
Yeah.
switched it out, and then we were like, okay, don't turn it on until we're ready. We ran through it a couple times. Like, all right, now turn it on. Let's do it. So real strategic with that. Um, and then I think other equipment. I don't know, just basic stuff, sandbags and other things. Nothing too crazy. Well, a drone. We did some drone shots. That's my version of a crane. That's my version of a crane shot. You'll
Yeah.
see like, running and him running up the hill and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, utilize everything we could. Utilize all of my in-house equipment as much as I could because budget was small and didn't want to rent too much. Knew I had to rent some stuff, but didn't want to go too crazy.
We even utilized our shoes.
Yeah, even the shoes, even the shoes.
The
Okay,
shoes, how so?
Okay, mostly Christian shoe. We said we had to tell this story. Okay, so there's a point in the film where shoes are being thrown through the wall, and there's a point where Christian, the runner Christian, let's call him the runner. He has to dodge the shoe, and so we did a take, and the way we did it was like the one shot of it coming through the wormhole, I just threw in the air and we're pointing it up towards the trees, and we're gonna add that in post and put the wormhole in. The second shot is him dodging it. So the camera's on Christian, on the runner, and he has to just duck down and dodge the shoe. We do one take and he does it. And I give him some notes and I'm like, I need you to do whatever it was more. And I'm like, all right, so let's do this again. And I'm ready to go. I'm holding the shoe right here. And he's like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready. And we say action. And I'm like, 3, 2, 1. And I just toss it, but Christian doesn't move. Christian just stares ahead and gets smacked right in the shoe.
Hold on, no, we actually did. We did do a couple of takes. It was like the third time that I think I was just in the rigmarole of it. I was like, all right, cool. And I just went blank. He says action, and he just chucks it. And I just like, I don't know. I guess I just didn't hear action. Something didn't register, and boom.
It took me a second to figure out what happened, actually. I like once it hit in the face, I was kind of like, wait, did he not duck? Wait a second, what just happened? And then he like turns around and I'm like, oh crap, I just hit him in the face. So I go over, I'm like, Christian, are you okay? And I'm like, what happened? He's like, I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. I just did not duck. I was supposed to duck. I didn't duck.
Jackson was scared, but I just thought it was funny. I thought it was funny.
Felt bad. I felt so bad.
Did it hurt?
I mean, it did hurt. I mean, it hit my lip. It hurt, but honestly, I just laughed. I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, it was like, funny. Yeah,
it was fun. I still haven't. He's watched the footage. I haven't seen that outtake.
Like, I know, I gotta show it to you. Yeah. I know. I showed it to my wife, Karen, and she was just like, "That looked like it hurt." It looked like it really hurt.
You'll have to do a blooper reel.
I know, we have to do a blooper reel. We have that and him falling down the hill, and there's tons of. Then I will say, just also another amazing scene: him drinking on the bench, and spilling the beer all over him. I think we did it 3 times. Is that right,
yeah.
Christian? Did we?
Yeah, we did it a couple of times because it went in my nose.
Right, yeah. It looked kind of stupid. Like, it looked kind of goofy. And we're like, well, we want more sad looking. We want more, pathetic looking here. And so we did it a couple times. And yeah, the first 2 are kind of funny. The first 2 are kind of funny. It looks goofy. But the third time, he nailed it, and I think you can really tell in the scene like there's some like desperation there. Also just with the lighting and the acting. Yeah, I love that scene. That's one of my favorites.
That's awesome, guys. Well, unfortunately, we're getting to the end of what Zoom's going to allow us to do. So, yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a chance to do any closing remarks.
Christian, you go. You want to go first?
Sure. Just want to thank you, Jess, for having us on. Thank you, Jackson, for making this dream come true and allowing me to be part of it. And also, he doesn't just direct from his viewpoint. He actually gets input from me, the rest of his crew too. So that's something I also value in who I'm working with. So another big ups to you. So just thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Christian. I do. I take his advice very seriously, and with the joy and everyone else I work with. Jesse, thank you for having us on. Um, me and Jesse actually met. We were filming. He was an actor in a film, and Jesse's actually done like what? How many films have you?
Um, let's see. I'm working on. I mean, I did a couple that I wouldn't necessarily like count. They were just kind of like me learning. But what's up? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I applied for the role because it had my name. Yeah, I was like, I might as well. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We'll have to collab with Derek again at some point. Totally.
Shout out Derek. I continue to work with him, mostly editing now, but his work is really good. He
Yeah.
really likes the long form. He does some really long, longer like story driven films, and
Yeah.
to him, he keeps working hard. Let me
Awesome.
also say, yeah, Wormhole. Anybody who's interested in it, follow Action Jackson Cinema, follow Christian Morant. I think that's your Instagram handle.
Yeah, Christian
Um,
Dominant.
Morant. More info on that. It was accepted to Freedom International Film Festival in Columbia, South Carolina. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah, and follow for more info on it. And thank you, Jesse.
Of course. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming on, and everybody who's listening and watching. Thanks so much for watching the Radiant Media podcast, and we'll see you next time.